welcome back, 50 Lem fam. It's D and Jay here with the 50 Lem Chronicles, and guys, we're here with another set of hot takes.
Yes.
So, so for those of you who are tuning in for the first time hearing our voices, this is the 50 Lem Chronicles, and here we discuss everything from politics to pop culture. We represent 50 Lem voices, we detail 50 Lem experiences, we have and continue 50 Lem conversations. So welcome or welcome back, and thank you so much for tuning in.
Welcome. I always want to do that. I don't know why.
I love it. All right, so this episode is definitely going to be an interesting one.
hmm
I'm super excited. Um, we're going to be discussing one of the original queens of comedy,
Yes.
Miss Auntie Monique.
Auntie. Yes.
Yes, and her eventful career, and we're gonna discuss everything from like her pre-Precious career,
hmm
because I feel like that's gonna easily be our milestone, our monument in her
Absolutely.
career. Her pre-Precious career, everything that happened with Precious, and the accolades she received with that, and then of course like the downfall, I guess you could say, coming off the other end of Precious,
Yeah.
from claims of being blackballed to
hmm
lawsuits and all the
hmm
fun and all the fun and shenanigans in between. So 50 Lamb fam, get your snacks because we are in for a deep one this week. But before we get into Auntie Monique,
hmm
I've got some music I just have to talk about. And I know you might have something you want to share, but I've got this song that has just come out recently. And I am a huge like Jasmine Sullivan stan. Like I go crazy
Absolutely.
for some Jasmine. The voice, the body, the everything.
The
And
everything.
she just dropped another single, which, my heart is starting to flutter a little bit because I feel like it could be an album. I'm trying not to get my hopes too high,
Yeah,
but
right. Let's knock
there's
on wood. Find some
look,
wood.
come on now. Come on. You know, come on now, because we got Lost Ones, and that, I mean,
hmm
like, killed it. And then she did the live, audio performance
Right.
or video performance. And now she dropped this song called Pick Up Your Feelings. And it feels like like I'm getting a vibe that is feeling like an album is on the way.
Are you
So,
getting a vibe or is
Jasmine,
that just what you want?
that's definitely what I want. But if like as an artist, if you listen to the two songs,
hmm
something about the connection between them, because they're both songs about like breaking up. They're both breakup songs, which we know
Right.
Jasmine is good at writing a breakup song now. Like, a lot of her big hits have been breakup songs. Bust
There
Your
you go.
Windows, like 10 Seconds, like she's got
Yes.
a ton of breakup songs, but and In Love with Another Man.
Come on now.
We can't skip past that one. Um, but this one, I mean, like the vibe that she's got going right here, I'm really excited about this because I've been following her since her first album, and just the maturity, like the way that she continues to evolve and grow as an artist just impresses and inspires me. And I've had people who've heard different parts of my music and different songs that even I've written, and they tell me, they're like, I can hear the Jasmine in your music. Like I can tell you listen to her a lot because I can hear certain things that you do with your voice or the runs that you choose,
And you
that you're a
have the
student of
range.
hers.
So let's
Oh,
just
well, thank
go
you.
ahead.
Well,
Let's
thank
throw it
you.
out there. Don't be modest. Go ahead, put it out.
you
Put
know,
it out.
I appreciate it. We might have to, give them a taste of something one day, but I don't know. I'm just really excited if she's about to give us an album, and even if she's
hmm
not, and she just wants to drop singles for a minute, I'm okay with that because I'm living, and she not only she's got this pattern that she's starting to create that I'm really appreciating. Is she drops the audio and then she drops a live performance of her. She hasn't dropped a music video, so to speak, in that kind of like dramatic sense, but I'm just
hmm
excited for what she's doing. So yes, I got to shout out Jasmine. That's my love. What you been listening to lately?
So I actually want to take this moment to give one of our millennial pioneers their flowers because,
Okay.
this person was like literally, at least from my childhood. I know, you grew up a little bit
Hmm.
different,
A little
but
holy. It's okay.
right. But for me growing up in our generation, Sammy was our first child. Like that was our child musician star. That was our
Ah,
Mr. Millennial. You know
yes.
what I'm saying? So like, we didn't see nobody our age doing that until him. At least I didn't. I can only speak for myself. But
Hmm.
I just wanted to take the time to give him his flowers because I remember the first millennial tour, he wasn't on it. And I was like, how they gonna do a millennial tour and Sammy and I don't, ain't he like Mr. Millennial? Like ain't he the millennial? You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, and so I heard his project last year, Everlasting, that he dropped, but he has a new project, Such is Life, this year. And
Hmm.
when I say, people always say R&B is dead, maybe Sammy was just holding on to R&B or something. I don't know. Maybe R&B must have been over there with him because when
Look.
I say R&B, and he can sing, like
Hmm.
he
I
can
can't. There
sing.
was a song of his, and I think it was off that project from last year
Hmm.
that just came up on my Spotify. Was I can't remember what it was, but it was so good, and it's on like my In My Feelings playlist because it's. I
Yeah.
mean, like he just gives absolute vocals. Like
He
it was so
does, and
good.
he gives R&B, and that's
Hmm.
hard to find now.
Hmm.
Like especially with men, and it's not he not yin yin on the song either.
Right.
He's
Right.
actually singing.
Actually
You know what I'm
singing.
saying? Everybody want to
Right.
and yin yin around the house, but ain't nobody giving us vocals like that. So I just
And
wanted to take the time to give him his flowers because he definitely deserves it, and I don't think he gets enough like public love from like
hmm
the industry like he should. You know what I mean? So shout out to
I
Sammy. Keep
agree.
doing what you're
And
doing, boo.
I have to think back because I know I feel like it was the first episode. I have to make a quick retraction
Hmm.
before we get into Auntie Monique. I have to make one because in the first episode, I think I made a comment where I made it seem like Ari Lennox was the only person in R&B who was doing it. And there are a couple quick people I feel like we have to shout out who are
Yeah.
in R&B right now that are doing it. Because
Hmm.
after I said that, I thought, and I was like, there's so many more. But we'd already finished the episode. So I was like, well,
Yeah.
but like it's not just it's definitely Ari Lennox, but there's like her, and
Hmm.
there's like Avery Wilson, and we've
Very
talked
bad.
Jasmine Sullivan, we've talked Sammy.
Hmm.
Like there's so many of them who are still creating like great music.
Yes. And it's just not
There's I
getting the
mean, and there's
attention that it
it's just not
deserves. That's
getting the
all.
attention, and like even with the Grammys, I don't know if you've happened to hear about the nominations, but I'm so over it. Like there were some people who got nominations who I think were well deserved.
Right.
They're like, I mean, every year there's always some big artists who've done good things or who've put out great music that
Hmm.
you just can't not give them a nomination. Like
Absolutely.
Beyonce got a nomination for several things, and Doja Cat, and I was really shocked by the fact that Weeknd had zero nominations though. Um, because Weeknd typically he'll sweep at the
Listen,
Grammys, and his album was like I want to say one of the biggest albums of the year.
it was,
It
and it
was
was
I
good.
want to
I like
it was a
what
good
I love the
album.
Weekend. I'm a fan of the Weekend's music. I really like his music.
I have my days. I like The Weeknd, and I love a lot of his music that I've
Yeah.
heard. But there's certain moments when I'm just not in a Weeknd voice mood. Like he has one of those voices where I'm like, not there yet. Like
But that's
I'm
because
not.
you're a singer. I can't sing, so it sounds good enough to me. You know what I'm saying? It sounds
It's
better
good.
than
No.
Jacquees.
He's got a good voice. You know, come on for
I
setting the bar
have
low. Come on for setting the bar low.
not the
Um,
bar love.
let me stop. But goodness. But I'm just, every year when the Grammys do their nominations, I don't know
Hmm.
lately. I know they've been trying to like change. And one thing that I thought was going to be good, I was like, oh, this is interesting, is they changed one of the categories. They created a progressive R&B category, and I was like, oh, that's going to be fantastic. this is going to be a great opportunity for more like Black artists to be recognized, people who are actively like trying to create new forms of R&B. And do you know who one of the lead nominees for R&B album is?
Ooh.
Doja Cat.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did I miss an album? Was there an album she put out that I didn't hear? I'm not going to act like I heard the other one, but
I want to say that she has like 2 R&B nominations, and I'm like, B7, what? Like there are several other. Well, no, I'm not gonna say several, but there are other R&B albums that came out.
The Grammys just
that should have
always
been
finds
nominated.
a way to miss the mark. They always
Absolutely.
And they always add these categories. Stop adding categories and just give the people the credit that deserve the credit.
Come
we
on.
don't need more categories. We just need the right people in categories.
Come on. We need
you know what I'm saying?
We need for
just
the
like
Grammys
y'all,
to reflect
and you know what
reality.
they be doing? If they just be throwing Black women, you either in hip hop or R&B, they just throw you wherever. I guess they said one of them songs was a little slow, so we're gonna put her over there. Like,
and I'm just confused. Sense. How is she? Whatever. But yeah, we'll have to do a whole episode.
I didn't know that. I missed that part.
Yeah, it blew my mind because I was like, Doja Cat R&B. I was like, where's the R&B? I get touches it.
So
I
High
get hip hop.
Maybe they went way back to So High and was like, no, that's kind of singy. We'll put that in there.
But before we even, before we continue on with our lovely music chat, I think it's time for us to get to it. Like,
okay.
Yes. So
yes.
Miss Monique, Miss Auntie Monique. Before we even get into, like I said, the downfall and the backlash and the blackballing and all of that, I want to give a little background on Monique, as who she is. So she was born in Baltimore. She was the youngest of 4. She went to school for broadcasting. And she actually got into comedy on a dare, which I thought was kind of cool. Like one of her brothers, dared her to get up at an open mic, and she did. And that's really kind of how she kicked off her comedy career. I think something that is notable about her personal life that I didn't know until I did more research into it. And then I started to realize, oh yeah, that was something that was talked about, is the fact that she was sexually abused as a child by one of her brothers. And that later goes on to play kind of a big role in the dismantling of hers and Oprah's relationship, because he did later interview with Oprah and admit to the things that he had done and brought their mother along for the ride. And so that was, Oprah, right? But she really kind of rose to celebrity status with the role as Nikki Parker on the Parkers.
Right.
So I totally used to watch the Parkers when I was younger. It was maybe one of those things that I got permission maybe into like season 2 or 3 I got to, or season 2 for sure, where I got to start watching the Parkers. But like, did you watch the Parkers? How did you feel about the Parkers?
So I actually did watch the Parkers because I grew up on Moesha. And so when Kim got a show, I said, okay, Kim, let's do it, girl.
Yeah, spinoff.
Right? So, but now I did, don't get me wrong, I watched all the seasons and stuff because I loved all the other characters and dynamics as far as her and Kim's, their whole mother-daughter relationship and the little comedy reliefs there with her friends. But what I didn't like was how they had this beautiful Black woman up here running behind old raggedy, nerdy Ogilvy. Professor Ogilvy, like, they really played her. Like, I hate how they made it. The whole plot, the whole premise of the story was how, because she's a big woman, she ain't good enough for no Professor Ogilvy was lame as hell. Let's be very clear. He was a cornball, and don't nobody want him. He was a cornball,
yeah.
He wasn't even that cute. And she over here just as pretty as she want to be, running behind his little bean head. Like, that bothered me my whole childhood.
Do you remember the episode where old dude who was a college student, he was a little closer to Kim's age, and he asked her to go out on a date, and they went out on a date, and he was like he wanted to date her, and he just wanted to be with her. And I mean, like, everything. He was trying to give her everything. He wanted to be everything for her. She's like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
you're too young. I'm in love with Professor Ogilvy." Like,
Like,
she just was
girl,
like,
they really ran
and
that into the ground for me. I was
they really,
over that part
and
of it.
it,
I
I mean,
hated that part of it.
it
Ridiculous.
kind of blew, yeah, it was ridiculous. And it was kind of a mark of the times, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, because that was a big thing for the 90s and early
Yep.
2000s. And a lot of female roles were centered around chasing
And
after
she
some
did
man
ride
or
that wave
pursuit,
of
or
the big girl. She rode the wave.
she
So
did.
I mean, I
She
guess I
did.
can't be that mad if she was
No,
down to
she
ride the wave.
absolutely did. So she was on the Parkers from 99 to 04. And in the midst of that, she became one of the original queens of comedy, where she
Yes.
really rode, that's when she really rode the big girl wave, because there were a lot of jokes, a lot of big girl jokes, a lot of, you know, skinny bitches jokes, a lot of that, like a lot of that.
But
And
I will say, I will give them their credit. What they did was legendary. It had never been done
absolutely
before.
legendary.
It had
I
never. So
that
we
is one
definitely
of
got a
my
shout out to
favorite,
all of the women that were on that, because
one of my
that had never been
absolute
done.
favorite comedy specials. One of my
Absolutely.
absolute favorite, like all of them
How old were you
legendary.
when you
Like,
actually got to see it?
oh, now I'll say this.
Shade.
I feel like I might have gotten to sneak it and watch it when
Hmm.
we had like Showtime and HBO and stuff like that. Because I feel
Okay.
like it used to come on HBO often. Because I feel like I'd be able to sneak those when
Hmm.
everybody else went to sleep. And I definitely remember watching Queens
Because
of
some
Comedy
more
and
is a
having to sneak it.
mouthful. I'm like, I
Some more is a
know you
whole
was not
mouthful.
watching some more up
And
in
that
your house.
volume all the way down, like on 5. Like, it was all the way down. Look, I
Yes.
was like, ooh. And the lights would always get me caught. But um yeah, I definitely loved Monique as a queen of comedy. And I think it
Absolutely.
really kind of set the stage for the style of comedy that she would do, for what
Yeah.
she would become known as. And I think for a moment she was even a little typecast,
Very
because
much so.
she had Nikki Parker that she had done for 5 years, and then she goes to do Fat Girls. Did you see Fat
I
Girls?
saw Fat Girls. I just, oh,
So, unpopular
oh my
opinion, I love Fat
God.
Girls. Oh my goodness.
Don't get me
I
wrong, it was
actually,
funny, but it's like
it was the
the
mostest.
it's the story like come on.
Yeah.
Come on. But don't get me wrong, it's not like they were bad.
No.
It's just
I
like the
liked
Parkers. Like the Parkers wasn't
it was
bad. It's just the
absolutely, it was like the Parkers the
storyline is
movie.
like
It was the Parkers
cringy.
the movie. No, absolutely. I like that she got a happy ending. I think that
Hmm.
was kind of my thing. And I think for the time, because I wouldn't say that it's aged well at all. I
No.
wouldn't say that that's one of those movies that could be made right now the same way it
Mm-mm.
was made then, and it'd
Mm-mm.
be okay. Like, no. I mean, talk about shutting down theaters, talk about all types of hell breaking loose online.
Listen.
Like, yeah, that's what Fat Girls 2020 would create. Um, but I just, yeah. Okay. So not only did she do that, but as her career continued to progress, she did more movies. In 2001, I think that was my first time actually seeing Monique, because I didn't, like I
Hmm.
said, I didn't see the Parkers at first when it was first on. Like, I
Yeah.
had to catch it maybe into season 2 or 3. But I remember my family getting Two Can Play That Game.
Yeah.
And I think we either rented it or it came on like HBO and we watched it. And Monique was one of the supporting actresses in that film,
Hmm.
with Vivica A. Fox and Morris Chestnut. And I loved Two Can Play That Game.
Shout out Vivica. She was it. She was
Yes,
that girl back then. And she's
she
so
really
freaking beautiful.
was. Vivica, I mean, complete boss. Like,
Yes.
I
Everything.
lived for, yes. But so, did you see Two Can Play That Game?
I
I'm
did.
sure you've seen that. I'm
I
sure. I mean, like, I feel like
definitely.
every Black person has seen Two Can Play That Game.
I
I
had a
feel like
very
our
black
white listeners,
upbringing.
yeah, I feel like our white listeners, which I know that we have them, so that's why I can say that with
They're there.
confidence. I know that we have them because they've talked to me about the show. I know our white listeners need to go and see Two Can Play That Game and these
Hmm.
other films that we talk about. But I just feel like she has a very Black resume.
Hmm.
Because even Soul Plane, another like cult
Hmm.
classic in Black community, completely crazy. That was my introduction to Kevin Hart. I think that was the world's introduction to Kevin Hart for real. Like, outside of comedy, outside of like stand up. That was his film introduction.
I don't think
Wasn't
so.
that wasn't his film debut?
Kevin Hart had did some black movies.
Oh,
Like, he
okay,
had did
okay. Yeah, now
some
those
whoop.
my film
I don't
debut
now
didn't
granted,
Kevin
I don't know.
Hart.
I think that may have been his first like featured
Mm-hmm.
film, but I
Feature film.
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know the timeline on some of the movies that, but I do know he was in some of them.
He was doing some, yeah.
It's like
So Soul Plane was definitely one of those movies, like Pootie Tang, that you remember and you just like you'll get a couple giggles in, but I don't know if I mean, yeah, another one of those movies that couldn't be made today. Like
no.
it just no.
It's not one that I personally go back to. I feel like that's one of
Yeah,
those
I would
movies
say I
where
don't
you
go
have
back
to
Soul
be
Plane.
under the influence of something.
Under the influence, and it's got to. I feel like it's almost a social type of thing. Like maybe there's somebody else that, oh yeah, Soul Plane. Like I don't really just see myself
sit there
alone watching Soul Plane. Like it's just but you know, she had a lot of like great films that she was in that were cult classics that, you know, what we would consider black famous. She was very black famous. Like all black people knew who Monique was. She was in music videos. She was hosting award shows. Like I know you remember when she did the Crazy in Love, Beyonce at the BET Awards.
She ate. I ain't gonna lie.
She ate all of that.
She
killed it. And then that was kind of along the time I think that she might have begun her weight loss journey. So that was when I think even her material started to change so much, so to speak, because I know when I saw one of her other, her later comedy specials, I Could Have Been Your Cellmate, she was still like, well, no, hang on.
Was
No,
that
I gotta pull that back.
special she did?
Yeah.
When she did it at the prison?
At the prison, yes.
That one was good.
That one was really good. That was one of my favorites because that was in 2007. Yes, that was one of my favorites that she did because I just feel like the style of, because that was right after she'd given birth. So she'd had her twins. She talked about that journey. I just feel like as an overall performer, she as an entertainer, she had built like a really strong resume.
Yeah.
So when she gets this offer in 2009 to do Precious, and she does that, I just remember not recognizing her. I didn't
in a good way.
In a great way. Like I was completely in shell shock by the performance that she gave.
You know why you were shell shocked? Because that's what real women do, okay? Real women sacrifice.
Ooh.
I had to do
it. For those of you who don't know, go back and watch Precious. I just feel like, and you know, we were talking about this the other night, looking back on Precious, it's not supposed to be a funny film.
It's not. But more you watch it,
the more you watch it, I guess the more the less painful the trauma is, so that you're just able to appreciate some of the comedy in it, because there are funny moments, like, but it really makes it a lot funnier after you've watched it several times. Right. And so now I can get a good kiki, like with
the first time Precious. I watched it, I was like, whew.
The first time I watched it, I had to sneak it because I had to sneak it. And I remember I watched the first half of it, and I got to the scene where she was with her father, and you just see all these cuts, if you know what I'm talking about, without me saying what happens in that scene. And I just remember, like, when I finally realized what was going on in that scene, I paused and I was like, I can't finish this right now. I was done with that I had to finish it the next day. I was like, I can't finish this right now. Like, that now that I know what's going on, I need some air. Like,
and jokes aside, like all jokes aside, Monique did amazing. Like when I say she shut anybody that ever could say anything wanted to say anything about her career, her acting, she shut it down. Okay.
Shut it all the way down.
She ate that movie. She stole that movie. That was her movie. Now, don't get me wrong, shout out to Gabrielle Sidibe, but Monique, that was her time to shine. Shout out to her for that, for sure. Her and
Absolutely.
that scarf she was wearing all the time. And that cigarette.
And I'll just say that I feel like the Precious production was amazing, because I even thinking about like Mariah Carey in that film, completely unrecognizable. Like,
they said they had to make her ugly.
Yes,
they
had to make
She's so pretty. They had to make her ugly.
And I still feel like they didn't really make her ugly. They just made her look older. Like, she didn't really look ugly.
Right.
She looked plain. I guess that was the word. They made her look plain. You can't make
Mariah Carey ugly.
You can't make Mariah Carey ugly. And I mean, she ate her performance. Like, it was just, I feel, an overall good production.
Very much so.
And undoubtedly, I mean, it was without an absolute doubt, Monique goes to get nominated for an Oscar. It was completely well deserved. It was everything. I remember when the nomination came out, I was like, yes, she deserved that. She ate that. That's hers. That's her award. I don't even remember who she was up against. I just remember knowing that's her award. Like, she earned that. And when she won that award, that made her the 4th Black woman to win.
4th.
Out
of how many years has the Oscars been around?
Well, the first was in like, the first was in like 27 or something, 37.
Right.
So,
the 4th Black
woman. 4th.
Not to win lead, but supporting.
And the crazy thing is, I can name all 4. That's what's sad. It's Hattie McDaniel. It's
Whoopi Goldberg.
Halle Berry. Whoopi Goldberg.
Halle Berry got Best Actress.
Oh, she did get Best Actress. She did.
And she was the first Black woman
to get Best Actress. No.
Jennifer Hudson.
Jennifer Hudson. Yes.
Did she win? She won. Or did she get nominated?
She won. No, she won. No, she won. She won. Yeah,
she won.
Jennifer Hudson won. But that's sad. And I mean, when you think about the plethora of Black actresses, the Angela Bassett's and like the Viola Davises, like, I love me some Viola and some Angela.
Look, give me that one stream of snot and some tears. Come on, Viola. Yes.
I mean, like, even like, of course, Kerry Washington. There's so many of them who have put in the work, who've made amazing films, and
absolutely
nothing. And so for Monique to win, I mean, that was monumental, of course, for her career. Exactly. I think it was one of those moments when everybody, I mean, had no choice but to be like, she is.
And mind you, this is a Black comedian, a Black female comedian.
Comedian, right?
Okay.
Winning in a dramatic
like,
this is an absolute
role.
Dramatic performance.
Love it.
So, before we get into the real tea, I think now is the most appropriate time for us to take a break. Because it is about to get wild. Yep. So, thanks 5011 fam for tuning in. We're going to take a super quick break, and we're going to come right back with the lawsuits and the blackballing and the shenanigans. Welcome back, 5011 fam. So before the break, we talked about Monique's, eventful career, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs. Very successful career. And, starting off, like we said, Black famous, I guess you could say, and then really just killing it with her performance in Precious. I think that's when things, they say that winning an Oscar or winning a major award, like an Oscar, Emmy, Grammy, Tony, any of those, either your career begins to skyrocket and you continue to succeed, and it's like this progressive upward, or that marks the downfall of your career. And I think many people would say that her winning the Oscar would mark the downfall of her career, because a lot of things started to go kind of crazy in that period following the film's production. So,
and I don't think anybody expected, especially with the previous career and success that she had, I don't think anybody expected it to go the
at
way it
all.
went at all.
At all. Like, I was shook. Because, okay, so for those who don't know, this is essentially the gist of what happened. So during the post-production process of the film Precious, there's a lot of, promotion that the cast will do, that the production team will do, that the director will do. They'll go out and they'll do a lot of promotion. And Monique claims that in her contract, her contractual obligation was domestic production. So she claims that she did her job in doing the domestic promotion that was needed to promote the film. And I'm guessing that she was under the impression any international promotion would be done by others, maybe by Gabourey and Oprah and Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels. So she was asked to promote the film at the Cannes Film Festival, and that's when she refused, because she said she just wanted to spend more time with her family. She'd rather spend time with family. She didn't want to do the promotion abroad. And that was when all hell broke loose. So what is your take on
that
Monique
part?
saying she was, on that part? Let's start right there. What is your take on that part?
So and correct me if I'm, so how old, what was the timeline between like her having her twins and that part of it? Because I feel like I saw somewhere she said a part of the reason why she didn't want to go is because she wanted to go back home to her kids.
Yes, her kids were 4 when the movie was finished. So she had, the twins were, I want to say, were born in 2005.
So here's the thing. I can understand where she's coming from, but I can also understand from an industry standpoint, it's just what's done. It's what everybody does. Everybody does the promotion. It's kind of like one of those unspoken things where it's like, we know once we do the film, we're gonna go promote. Cannes is such a big, huge
it's a big
festival.
deal.
You know what I'm saying? It's a really big deal. I could understand if it was like a little smaller, little something. You like, y'all got Cannes, girl, and you know they coming to see you. You know you're the star, like and you're a drama breakout star. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was an opportunity for you, also for your own career gain. That was a big, big opportunity. Now I can't tell her as a mother how to feel, but I can say that she shouldn't feel slighted by them, because what they were asking, they were not demanding anything extreme from her. They were just demanding you to do what everybody does. We're all doing it. You know what I'm saying? If we're all humble enough to do it, then just come and be a part of it. And I feel like as celebrities, like, and this is no shade, but it's like they couldn't come. Like the fam couldn't come.
Right.
Yeah, you come on. Y'all got coins.
Right.
Like, come on.
Y'all got coins, right.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I've never seen a big star be like, nah, I'm not promoting the movie. Like, of course they're gonna feel some type of way when their star doesn't want to. Like, I think it's kind of weird to not expect them to feel away, to expect them to just be like, oh, okay, cool, you're the star. People are expecting to come and talk to you, to interview you at Cannes is one of the biggest festivals. This is not a mom and pop festival that you're skipping. It's not a radio station that you're skipping. This is Cannes.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Like, that's a big deal. If I was like the person making the movie or whatever the case may be, I'd feel away too, because it's not a good look for us rolling out the movie that you're not there. You know what I mean? It's not a good look. I could understand wanting to be with your family, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe if it could have been like, okay, I'll fly in for this amount of time, but then I gotta go. Or something like, you know what I mean? Like some type of negotiation, some type of compromise or something. Like, oh, if y'all fly my family out, then cool, or something. You know, don't just be like, nah, I ain't do it. Now, granted, I mean, we don't know the behind the scenes, so we don't know.
This is what I'll say.
But
so what I'll say, because I agree on that part, because I even know I listen to everyone who knows me knows I love some Audible. I love me a good book. I listen to a book like while I'm on my long commute to work. But I was listening to Gabourey's memoir, her autobiography. She wrote an autobiography called It's Just My Face. I think that's what it's called. It's Just My Face. And she talked about the fact that during the promotion of the film, she had no money. So they were actually,
that was her breakout role. That was her first.
That was her breakout role.
Ever.
That was her very first role. So she had no money to afford the dresses and the trips, and so they were helping her, get along to do the things that. But even the sacrifice that was having to be made to help her, I see entirely what you're saying. But what I will also say is a part of Monique's claims that later came out was also that she wasn't paid enough. And so I forgot to go and look up how much the film grossed. I know it was a ton of money. The film grossed a ton of money. But Monique was paid a flat rate of $50,000. And
which is on you, sweetie, because that was the deal you negotiated. You didn't negotiate to get anything on the back end because you could have.
That was what she negotiated.
You signed up for.
And I think part of it is also when you look at the industry of what is show business, is when you sign up for an independent film, there is no guarantee that film is going to be a success.
Absolutely.
And so I see both sides of it, because I see someone who's like, okay, I've done my contract has me obligated to do all of the domestic promotion, and I've done all of the domestic promote, because she was promoting the film in the US. She was absolutely promoting the film in the US.
Right.
But it was the international promotion that she was refusing to do. So later, Monique comes out and this is when it started getting real. Things just really went left because it got super spicy. I was like, oh. So I actually have a verbatim quote of Monique. And she said, people were saying, someone needs to teach Monique a lesson because she's not playing the game. She said Lee Daniels called her and told her she's been blackballed. So she asked him why. And he said, well, you're being blackballed because you won't play the game. And she goes, what game? And he would not give her an answer. She believes his real issue was with her not naming him during her Oscar acceptance speech. So let's talk about that Oscar acceptance speech, because
look, do we have that verbatim? No, just kidding.
I don't have look, I should have written it down or had it right here. Because she did shout out, she shouted out like the Academy for, the opportunity to be nominated and to be in this space to receive the award. She shouted out, she shouted out Hattie McDaniels, and what she went through with her journey to receiving an Oscar and everything that came post her Oscar. And she shouted out her husband. And what she said about her husband, because there's a lot of interestingness with Miss Monique and Mr. Sidney, right? Her and Daddy. But what she said is, she said something to the extent of like, thank you for, helping me understand that sometimes you have to do the things that are called for to do what's right, and something to the effect, it was real vague and kind of shady. And I feel like that was her prequel to really calling this situation out. And so when she did that, when she said what she said in her public statement, well, Lee Daniels is going to come back, of course, and has a response, because Leah has been clapping back. They've been clapping back and forth with each other since this situation happened. And his response was, quote, I fought hard for her to get that job, and she was paid her money for the budget that we had. And for her to badmouth myself and Tyler and Oprah is disrespectful, and it's wrong. She's out of pocket. She's really wrong. No one blackballed her. And he basically painted her to be a pain to work with. Basically, like her husband was problematic. And that her bad attitude and how difficult she was to work with is what soured her relationship with the Hollywood community. I don't know.
Well, I do have a comment to make on the whole play the game thing.
Yes.
Because let's keep it all the way real. Auntie Monique, in the beginning, sweetie, you was playing the game with them roles. With Nikki, Parker, and Fat Girls.
Fat Girls.
You was playing the game.
So playing, yeah.
You rode a wave and you was playing the game. Now, it's such a double-edged sword, because in being in the industry and being Black is so much different, to the extent where, because I was into that whole, I wanted to ride that little wave out at one point in my life, and what I'm about to say is a part of the reason, and part of what made me change my mind, is because if you are not the person creating the opportunities, you have to kind of fit a mold and play a game when you're Black, because there aren't other roles for us. You know what I'm saying? And I think that for Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry and Oprah, for them to all be Black creators giving Black people opportunities, that should be a space where I shouldn't have to play the game. Because I got to go out into the rest of this industry and play the game with them.
And play the game
because they're not going to give me a role if I don't. But you know what I'm saying? The whole point of you guys getting to the level that you're getting to is so that Black people don't have to play the game. If you know what I mean? Like, it's such a weird thing to say, but at the same time, you can't get mad, Auntie Monique, when the film do very, very well. Y'all had a budget when y'all signed up. The people who created it, of course, are going to make the most money off of it. It's theirs. It's their project. You got paid what you signed up to do. You didn't negotiate a residual deal. It probably would have worked in your favor, but that's not the deal that you
absolutely
had.
Should
you know
have.
What I'm saying? And I feel like her being Monique, she probably could have negotiated that, but at the same time, they were gambling on her as well, because we had never seen her do something like that.
In that dramatic
Nobody
sense,
could have predicted that Precious would have did what it did. Nobody could have predicted that.
Nobody.
You know what I'm saying? Because for Color Girls, they didn't do what Precious did, and that was
no,
a great
they didn't
movie.
even predict it. Yeah,
exactly.
They didn't even predict it. Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like at the same time, it's like, I understand where she's coming from, because I would want to feel too like I'm supposed to be safe with my people. I shouldn't be playing the game still. But at the same time, there are still certain industry standards and certain things, you know what I'm saying, certain ways that you have to move. And even with your own career, you kind of do, to an extent, have to play a game for your own career to make sure that you're still eating and that your family is still fed.
Absolutely.
Because you can skip cans to go home to your family, but when people decide that they don't want to deal with you, that's going to hurt your family. So what's the bigger sacrifice? You know what I mean? Taking this one trip, or you know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, you got to pick your battles too.
That's kind of what Steve Harvey said, which was something that actually happened after all of this situation, or after another situation that we were going to get into. Steve Harvey said something very close to what you were saying. But we'll come back to that. We're going to come back to Steve.
I didn't mean to throw you up, but I just had to.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine, because that's tying it all together. I don't know. The situation rubs me the wrong way, because I completely agree with you. I feel like because those three individuals would easily be considered and called like gatekeepers when it comes to Black entertainment and Black media. And here she is having pissed off, essentially, gatekeepers. So when they say no one blackballed her, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that they absolutely did blackball her, because he'll say, well, no, nobody blackballed her. Monique blackballed herself. I think that is a deflection. I believe that statement is his way of saying, well, she brought it on herself. It wasn't like we wanted to blackball her, because she did publicly call all of them out. It wasn't even like,
and I feel like they probably didn't want it to go where it went. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't
But
think that they
sometimes
did.
the way people respond to things, they kind of back you into a corner. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
if we the only ones making the stuff and you start something with us and now we have an issue, it's not even really blackballing. It's just the only people that's doing it don't rock with you. That's really what it, you know what I mean? It's just a lemony snicket, you know, series
And
of
I will
unfortunate
say
events.
that she did have a couple other projects after Precious.
Mm-hmm.
In like 2014, she did a film called Blackbird, which I saw her in. It was good.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Blackbird was good. She did she played Ma Rainey in the 2015 Bessie film, the Bessie
So good.
biopic. And her last film role, her last film role was in 2016 with a film called Almost Christmas. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it. I
Never
didn't know
seen
it
it.
existed. And then in 2017, that's when she claimed she was being blackballed and she had no opportunity to get work. That's when she publicly called them out, and she called them out by name, and she said if she had a bleep, they could suck it. And I mean, she went off. But in 2019, she made history as the first Black female comedian to have a Vegas residency.
Mm-hmm.
So she has still, to a certain degree, and I remember when that was announced, I thought that was phenomenal. Because I was like, okay, she's getting some of her reputation back.
Right.
But prior to that happening, the Netflix special we were referring to, she was offered $50,000.
And she couldn't work.
No,
for
500,000. Excuse me, $500,000 for a Netflix special.
And she could not work for 2 years. If she,
right,
that was part of the contract.
If she signed the contract, she could not work for 2 years. And I don't know, because I feel like this is where we might not see exactly eye to eye on this situation.
Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Yes, you go first.
Okay, so as far as the Netflix special situation, now I do feel like, for me to be, if I'm Monique, right, and I have a family that I'm supporting, people have to pay for it, things have to be done, $500,000 is not enough for me to sit down for 2 years and not be able to do anything. I will give her that. That's not enough for me to be sitting down doing nothing. Because at first, if it was just like, oh, they just offered her $500,000, it's like, okay, but to have me sit down and not do nothing
and not
else
be able
for
to do
2
anything.
years,
because that's like
that
I want to say exclusivity clause. It's like an exclusivity clause.
That part of it, I can understand her definitely so feeling slighted by. Now, I do not think that it was necessarily intentional racial and gender bias. I think that it was partially ignorance upon whoever may be the person doing the deals and stuff, because let's be clear, they're not really privy to the Black community and what we really going to show up for and what we really like. They don't, you know, if you're not Black, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times they don't expect us to show up for certain things. And two, kind of some of what Leonard
Child.
like, I understood too where he was coming from, in the aspect of like, you're naming people who have recently been selling out arenas while you've been touring clubs. Now, this is not shade at all. It's just she was doing clubs. She was. And it's like, you're Monique. Why did you feel like it was okay to do the clubs and not be doing theaters and arenas and then go to Netflix? You know what I mean? Like, keep your demands consistent, because you're Monique. Right. If you're a legend, you should be doing theaters and arenas like all the legends are doing. Because I'm sure, don't get me wrong, I'm sure she probably could have sold them out. She probably could have. But if I'm, like they were saying, if I'm a business person looking at it, clubs don't hold that many people as theaters and arenas do.
Right.
So from a business aspect of it, I can understand how somebody can see that and it makes sense to them. But at the same time, she also made a lot of great points in the fact that look at my resume. When I show up, I show out no matter how long I've
No
been
matter.
away. You know what I'm saying? And that's the fact of the facts. You know what I'm saying? It's very much a fact. Just like Dave Chappelle was gone for so long, he came back, he showed up and showed out. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, I think she does herself a disservice by doing clubs and not theaters and arenas, because if you
Yes.
want people to see your work, you have to show them your worth. You know what I mean? If you're still that girl, you got to make sure they seeing it, because the reality of the situation is, yes, your resume is amazing, but when those people look at it, they see a lot of African American projects and they don't know if it's going to translate across the boards for them, because let's be clear, Netflix is a international streaming service.
It is. Yeah.
You know what I'm
It is
saying?
international.
Not to give them any, not, but for them, that's how they view it, because they're not us. You know what I mean? So they see it when they look at it on paper. That's what they see. A lot of African American projects where you did successful among the African American community, and they're not thinking that they never think that we're going to show up. They never think we're going to show out. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, the Christmas movie, I ain't see it because I've seen this Christmas before, so I didn't need to see another one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like sometimes you have to, and that also comes into playing the game. And it's just like how he brought up that a lot of them that got those bigger deals were in bidding wars with HBO and other places. She was not.
She was not.
This
That's
was
true.
this was your only offer. Now, and this is no shade, because Grant, yes, she is a legend. But to them, they're like, we the only ones even looking for her right now. To them, that's how they're looking at it. It's like, we the only people that's even checking for you. So they thinking they doing her a favor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where us in the Black community, we know Monique is Monique. And she gonna show up and show out no matter how long she's been away. But you can't expect them to understand your community, because they're not in it. They don't understand it. They don't get it. They're only looking at it from a numbers perspective. And if they see you doing clubs, and yes, she got standing ovations in those clubs because she's Monique and she's that girl and she's talented and she gonna give it to you. But to them, they're looking at the numbers. These are clubs. It's not that many people. So they're gonna look at it from a statistics point of view, because they're ignorant to the Black community and how we show up and show out. Nobody expects us to. It's a shock to people when our movies do as good as they do, because they don't expect us to come out and spend money and support. You know what I mean? So it's like, on the one hand, it's cool to just walk away from the deal. But I don't think that it was like necessarily like a bias type of thing. I think it was more just them being ignorant to who she really is and what she can actually make people do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were ignorant to the fact that she can actually make people show up and watch. Because her first special with them was super dope, and it was really, really good.
It was, yeah.
I don't know what the numbers were, but I saw it and I enjoyed it. But you could say the same for Tyler Perry. It's like, the Madea stuff, it be, never mind. We ain't even go. I'll leave that where that's at. It ain't the same. Monique is actually good, and Madea they could keep. So we ain't even gonna go there.
Well, what I'll say in response to that is, I do agree with some of what you said. Because
come on.
I'm not trying to get you together. Oh, stop it. But what I will say is, even if Netflix, because this is where I feel Netflix's offer was disrespectful. I feel that because if you talk relevancy, that's one thing. But I mean, like, Monique, out of any of because Amy Schumer got $11 million. Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock both got $20 million. I don't believe, from what I'm hearing Monique say, I don't believe she was saying she deserved $20 million. Now, I'm sure she would feel that she deserves $20 million, but I don't think that's what she was saying. I feel like for them to come with anything less than $1 million was disrespect. Because at least, at very bare minimum,
they can at least offer her 3.
she's an Oscar award winning actress at bare minimum. Like, that's my thing that I think a lot of people forget about Monique is, yes, she's very outspoken. Yes, she's done this. Yes, she's done that. But when you look at her work, her body of work, she has never herself put out anything that was trash that I've seen. Now, the Almost Christmas, it could be trash. I haven't seen it, but it could be absolute basura, but I haven't seen it. But what I will say is that this, not only did she win an Academy Award, but let me just list off a couple of the awards she got just for Precious. Because as Nikki Parker, she got multiple NAACP Image Awards for her performance. She got a BAFTA. First of all, a BAFTA is the equivalent to an Academy Award for people who don't know. It's the British version of an Academy Award. She got a BAFTA. First of all, she's Black and got a BAFTA. Like, that right there is a big deal. She got a Golden Globe. She got a SAG Award. And then, I mean, like, she had 11 major awards that she won.
Most decorated comedian.
Like 11 major awards for her performance in Precious. So I get Netflix trying to make, because they even in a later statement said, oh, well, we thought our offer was fair. I'm sure y'all
and they
did.
Probably did. That's why I say it's ignorance, because I really feel like they probably thought it was.
I believe there was a certain level of ignorance, but by the same token, Netflix, in my opinion, is at the same time too attuned into what they believe Black culture wants, that they should have known better when it came to Monique. I feel like Netflix should have known better. And even in part of her suit, was she was like, well, their executive board is 6% Black, so how are they going to know any better? Like, and that was when that was disclosed, I was like, absolute facts. And that's a very good point. Is like you were saying, if someone is not there in the room making decisions that doesn't know about our culture and our community, they can't fight for her, and we can't expect there to be some form of reflection of us, true reflection of us, if there's not one of us who's actively us in the room. Like, because there are some sellouts perpetrating, but we're talking about people who are actively us. Like, ugh. So for me, I think that Monique's problem is, and I think part of it's also because I'm a fire sign. She's a Sagittarius. I'm an Aries. So as a fire sign, I see her emotional reaction. I'm like, okay, sis, this is where we have to work. Like, we can't always be so explosive in reaction. And that's where
playing the game comes into play.
That's where playing the game comes into play, because
you
I feel like
need to eat. You still have to feed your family.
But what I must say is, I don't believe, now, yes, she is a grown woman, but I don't believe the explosive reaction is 1000% her, because we have to look at who's in her corner, who her manager and her husband is. Like, he is also explosive. Yes.
Before we do that, I did want to touch on one other point, because I do want to say too, with her bringing up, like, now I don't think, granted, I'm sure most of the Black community doesn't think Amy Schumer is funny, but it's just one of those things where we're not a part of their community, and that's why she's not funny to us. To them, she's a hoot, she's a riot, whatever. But I think it also, have to put into perspective, even though she doesn't like the fact that we're in the what have you done for me lately type of time, that's just the way the world is now with social media and stuff. If people haven't seen you, if people aren't keeping up, and even with Dave Chappelle, it's like, it was easy for Dave Chappelle because we had been begging him to come back. We didn't want him to leave. We had been begging him to come back. You know what I'm saying? There was a demand for Dave Chappelle, to the point where he came back, sold out these arenas and theaters, and was able to negotiate that deal. Chris Rock never left the scene. You know what I'm saying? And I don't, even some of his work is like, but he's been actively, still doing stuff, and
he's been
selling out
in
theaters and arenas. You know what I'm saying? So at the same time, she said, like, she's not the only legend who has gone through that, because there are so many people where we could do a Where Are They Now, where somebody was legendary, but ain't nobody really checking for them. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
And I think in Netflix eyes, they're like, yeah, you a legend, but to them, nobody was checking for her. And it's
And I
like,
think that's what the difference is that people
yeah,
actually are still checking for Monique.
yeah,
Like,
but they didn't know that
they
because
don't
they're
know
not
that.
black.
Yes. That come on now. That's the truth. Um, but yes, like I think part of the equation, and I think that leads us into some of these interviews that have come
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, is part of the equation I think that makes her reactions seem so explosive. I would like to use the word explosive. I think I'm going to stick with it. Is her husband Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe that he is a little bit, if not a lot, of fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
I don't know what his sign is, but I would not be surprised if he was a fire or air sign, because it is amplifying the fire in her. Like
Mm-hmm.
it would make the most sense to me.
Do you feel
And
like it's a good or a bad thing or both?
so I feel like it's both. That's what I'll
Mm-hmm.
say. Because I think it is so important, um, for people to see black love and like unconditional, like, when they are in the room, when you see the two of them together and when you hear them talk to each other, it doesn't
I ain't
feel
gonna
or
lie,
seem like
the
a
the
facade to
daddy
me.
thing is kind of cringy to me. It weirds
It's
me out.
also
It
it
really
I will
weirds me
also
out.
say that's something that's more common in the South too.
But she
So
says it like so much. It ain't even like
no,
a one time. It's like, ooh, Zed. It's like that's
and
how I address you. It's
no, but
so
I'm that's what
cringy.
I'm saying, is that is
Is
something
it?
that is, yeah, that exists
I didn't
here
know
in the
that.
South too. No, it absolutely exists here in the
I'm
South.
not
So
Southern, obviously.
I've heard of, yeah, I would say I've heard of numerous couples
Wow.
where, yeah, daddy and mama, and like that's how they refer to each other. And part of why she said she calls him daddy is because he's the parent, the father to her sons. But whatever. Okay. So I do
Delete ever. That's
feel,
it.
because so there were two interviews in particular
Mm-hmm.
that we were going to talk about that I think uh that I think kind of sum up this situation and what has been going on, because they've also added somewhat of milestones. Like, they could kind of serve as like milestones or pillars in the conversation. And one is the interview with the Breakfast Club,
Yes.
and the other is the Steve Harvey Show interview. I feel like those two, and I would even say the Comedy Hype interview was one that's like definitely worth watching, because she went crazy in that interview. Like, well, not
Did you
crazy, I don't
mention
want to
her
say that.
TV
She
show?
went off. I did not. The Monique Show.
I just thought about that.
Child,
We didn't mention her
I
TV
forgot
show.
about her show. 2000. It was also in 2009, and I forgot to bring up the fact that she was with Charm School too.
Yeah, they could keep
Do
that.
you
But her
remember
show.
Charms? I feel like Monique was fantastic on Charm School. Charm School was trash, but
Right.
Monique was great on there. She was so like mature and
Mm-hmm.
grown, and
Very much so.
so I actually never really watched the Monique Show. Like, did you watch the show?
It was a lot of yelling for it to be so late at night. It was a lot. So I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
really. I've seen some, but it was, and then I think at that time I was in band. I didn't have time. I
Well,
didn't have
yeah,
time.
yeah. We didn't have time for
I
that.
didn't have time.
Mm-mm. Um, but she did end up suing Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and so the
Okay.
lawsuit was for gender discrimination, racial discrimination, and when she made that lawsuit, there were different things that she was out and about saying, and that was when she was proclaimed Donkey of the Day
Mm-hmm.
at at the Breakfast Club.
Mm-hmm.
So Charlemagne the God called her Donkey of the Day, and in response to being named Donkey of the Day, which I rarely see people respond. I mean, but that's because I don't keep up with the Breakfast Club like that. But
Yeah.
in response, she was like, "I'm pulling up, and we're gonna talk about this."
That's
And
some
so
real shit to do, though.
that
Oh,
is
I'm the
so
donkey.
real.
Okay, you're gonna have to
Like,
tell me
you're
why
gonna
in my face.
explain to me why I'm a donkey, and I want you to
Even
look
though,
me in
girl,
my
the video
eyes.
wasn't enough for you, but okay. And he did, though. I give him credit. He did. He kept eye contact and he stood by what he
He
felt.
did. He stood by
You
what
gotta
he said,
respect that. Yeah. I
and
don't think, and I don't think
I
he
can
was
respect that.
intentionally being disrespectful. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
You
no,
were
no.
gonna end up.
I actually agree with you. I don't think he was being intentionally disrespectful either. But there were some pretty interesting things that they said to one another and about one another in that interview and since that interview or since that conversation. And her husband was also on the phone during that conversation. So he was a part of that conversation. A lot of people have talked about how peculiar their relationship is because they have also been pretty public about their open relationship. But it's just a lot of people talk, to each their own. But a lot of people talk about the peculiarity of like how they are around each other. And part of it, like I said, is you see this beautiful Black love, but also there's this weird clingy energy that they have with one another. That codependency. And in this conversation, and what I'll say is I feel like they were really talking in circles with each other, and it was almost like two bulls that just really were refusing to back down, so they just kept headbutting. And I mean, I could see both of their parts. I could absolutely understand where both of them were coming from. And I just feel like there was no resolution. I feel like they just argued back and forth for several minutes until she got mad and left.
And I think the reason why there couldn't be a resolution is because at the end of the day, for one, let's be clear, they both made very valid points. And in that interview, it made me understand the mindset that she was in and where she was coming from when she was coming from made the lawsuit. And which gave you a better understanding. Like, okay, if you feel that way, I can understand how you would feel like this is discrimination. But I can also understand how, and they all, I think, brought up, just like how Angela Yee was saying, well, do you think it's just a Black comedian thing? Because Ava DuVernay and all these other Black women, they got $1 million deals with Netflix.
That's true. That is true.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I said that I don't think it was racial bias, and I don't think that it was gender bias. I think it was just plain ignorance. They dropped the ball. They didn't know that Black people actually still check for Monique. They didn't know that. It was just pure ignorance, honestly. And I feel like with that interview, for one, I feel like too, she takes a lot of things and personalizes them. You know what I mean? How many people have been donkey of the day? Like at this point,
so many.
Who is taking anything Charlamagne says to heart? Like, come on, and you're a comedian. Like, come on. Like, come on. You personalized that.
Take the joke.
You took that and you personalized that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like a lot. And to be honest, a lot of people in the beginning, before that interview, felt the way Charlamagne felt. They felt like she was taking, you know, what Black women go through and personalizing it and putting it in that situation. A lot of people express that exact same thing. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, I thought it was a boss move for her to pull up and be like, tell me why in my face. But I also thought it was a boss move for him to not back down and be like, well, this is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And I think they both had valid points.
She went full-fledged Auntie on him. Like, she was absolutely like...
But I ain't gonna lie, she wouldn't have walked up in there and called me by my real name. I would have got her together. You don't know me. But at that time in my life, I responded differently to a lot of things. So
they had they had a certain kind of like familiarity with each other, because I think they'd met a couple times before.
If I met you once, you don't know me. And when I met you, I gave you my stage name. I didn't give you my birth name. You tried to act like you had what I feel like she came in expecting to catch him off guard with that. And when he corrected her on how to say it, it threw her off. I really think she came in thinking like, I'm about to get you because I got one on you. Or just like the phone call with the guy that I guess they both were friends with. And he was like, well, that's not what I said to him. Like, I feel like she had did like a little background stuff and came in prepared with certain things that she was going to pull out on him. And it just didn't work out because he wasn't responding to it. And that's why I think they both was, like you said, two bulls that just was not, like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to, nobody's going to back down.
Yeah, it was just, that interview was a hot mess. And for me, it really kind of, it almost paled in comparison to the Steve Harvey interview. Because I feel like, for me, there were a lot of things that came up in the Steve Harvey interview where I get what he's saying, and I get when people are like, oh, you know, like, I'm not going to speak out because, you know, like, that could stop my back, and, you know, I got to protect my family, and I got to protect this and that and the other. And and it befuddles me when you've got like people who are in the background who are saying to her, "Oh yeah, you did nothing wrong." Like a lot of them were telling her, "You did nothing wrong." Steve Harvey. She even said that Oprah and Tyler Perry, and they all told her that she did nothing wrong. But this was just a result of not playing the game. And
which
so
is
for
so
me,
whack.
that's what I think just bothers me the most is that there's so many of them because she was very upfront with him and very blunt in that interview.
And
Like
that's one
she
thing I
called him
like
out.
about her.
I love that about her, that she's not going to put on any air. She's not going to come on playing any games. Like, she's not playing any games. She's made it clear. She's not playing the games, guys. Like,
All right.
none of
I
them.
told you I'm not playing
Not
the
the
game.
social games, not the career games, none of the games. Game is over, says Monique. But I don't know. I just found it bothers me. I think the more I listened to what he was saying, the more it bothered me because she made a comparison of him to like the sellouts and like the house niggas. And, you know, like she was like, and she was, it was a part of Roots. It was a clip from Roots where she was paralleling what he said with what the character was saying in the film. And I mean, I get both sides of the discussion, but I think what bothered me is that there were so many Black people who were supporting her in secret. Like, if there are that many of y'all who support her, why can't y'all come forward and be like,
yes,
hey, we're going to you need a movie role, you need an opportunity, let me be the one to help you. Like, I don't know, it just bothers me because I think so many of them do make it big and then they become islands. Like, they just become islands, and it's like, that's my job, is to maintain my island. It's no longer about the global village. It's no longer about the community.
And it's like we talked about, when they get to a certain status, they forget that they're still
where
Black.
they came from. Exactly. You forget where you came from and who it took to get you where you are. Because like it's ridiculous. There's so many people that are famous because Black people made them famous, and then they forget the Black community. Like, oh, thanks. All right. I mean, there's so many of them, and not just Black people. Like, not just Black people.
So, I feel like, for one, Steve Harvey, for me, and I know, you know, everybody loves some Steve Harvey, and they think he's like this knowledge guru and all of that. But he lost me at act like a lady, think like a man. He lost me.
That's where he lost me.
He lost me at that. Because, child, bye. And I feel like she's expecting these Black men to understand the struggle of a Black woman, and they're not going to. They don't see it, sis. And then your good sis is a whole other issue, so she's definitely not going to have your back. And you know who I'm talking about. You know, she's sitting over there with her best friend being a whole issue in themselves.
A whole issue, look.
And I feel like with people like that, you know what I'm saying, you can't, especially when these people are supposed to be your friends. Girl, these not your friends. Let's just be very clear on that. These are not your friends, because a real friend, not a one. And like, because none of their bags was going to stop if they would have spoke up for you. A real friend would have had your back publicly. A real friend would have said, hey, my girl ain't that. A real friend would have gave a friend a platform. A real friend would have gave a friend an opportunity, not just support them in private. They would have gave a friend an opportunity no matter what anybody was saying about them. You know what I'm saying? Because let's be clear, Tyler Perry, girl, your bag was not finna stop. Your bag was not about to stop, because you create your own stuff. Your bag wasn't going nowhere. Steve Harvey, girl, your bag wasn't going nowhere. You already solidified in Family Feud and everything else. Your bag was going nowhere by supporting Monique or giving her an opportunity to speak. Because you gave her an opportunity to speak this time. Did your bag go anywhere? Did it? Oh, I didn't think so.
Well, his show went somewhere.
Look, it could stay where it went. I have my own issues with some of the problematic things that he says when he thinks he's ministering to women. And it's like, you are a part of the problem. You are a part of the problem of this toxic masculinity. And then she has, and that's a part of the issue of people expecting her to come into a Black space where she's supposed to feel safe. And we still got the same rules. We're still going to treat each other the way they treating us. I still have to play the game with my own
Play the
people.
game. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, she has a reason to feel upset, but Auntie Monique, Auntie Monique, there is a way to
to
do
do
it.
things. Mm-hmm.
To get up there as a woman and tell these people that they can suck your dick is not the move.
Mm-hmm.
You are not doing yourself any favors. You are not carrying yourself as the woman that we know you are. You are not presenting yourself as the woman that we know you are. You are degrading yourself by doing that. You know what I'm saying? It's not a good look for you, and it's not helping anybody, especially you. You know what I'm saying? Because what people are going to do who don't know you and don't know the situation, they're going to be like, oh, that must be what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That must be what they meant. Now, granted, speak your truth, but speak your truth. Don't spew out all that hatred and all that negativity, because at the end of the day, what you give out is going to come right back.
It's going to come right back. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You are going to block your own blessings trying to give somebody else a piece of your mind. I had to, and trust me, girl, I am not the one to be preaching. I learned this the hard way, honey.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot give people that much of you. What you have to do is take the situation at what it is and say, okay, because you know what you were. We all know by now that you know what you were. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't tell
right.
us that you know. You done took them to court behind it. So we know that you know what you're worth. So what you should have did was bossed up on them, just like you bossed up. You know what I'm saying? When you did the interview, you didn't come in there on that type of rah-rah. You bossed up and you came in there like a woman and you spit your facts and you let them know what it was. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it should keep that same energy. What you should have did was bossed up on them, show, and then start booking these opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Because people are looking at you now. Start booking these opportunities instead of showing people what they keep saying about you. You know what I mean? Granted, you shouldn't have to feel that way, but this is what we in right now. This is where we at with it. And that's a part of playing chess, is seeing the board and knowing how to move. You was moving wrong at that point. You was moving all wrong at that point. And it wasn't a good look at all for her as a woman, especially as a Black woman. Because now you got on that stage and showed them another angry Black woman. You gave them what they was looking for.
I feel like the theme for this whole conversation for all of them should just be do better, because I agree that she could have handled it better. I do agree that she could have reacted differently. But by the same token, I feel that if the setting had been set the proper way when the gatekeepers came together, when you got that many of them in the same space creating something, they should have created a space where she from jump didn't have to worry about playing any games. From jump didn't have to question her pay. From jump should have known that the expectations were she would have been traveling internationally, because I feel like I don't know what her husband is doing as her manager, but I feel like that's maybe one of the things that needs to change. Is that he needs to be her
managers
husband.
don't never work out.
It rarely works out. And I think she would be better off with someone who is a little bit more removed from the situation and who's more objective. Not necessarily someone who doesn't understand, because I feel like even a fan could probably do a better job managing her career. She needs someone who loves her in a more objective sense, who's going to fight for her, because there's no way that contract, like her, she might need a new attorney. There's no way that I would have been Monique. And after that Grammy award, not Grammy, after that Oscar award win, that any other contract would have came up to me less than $1 million.
There's no way I'm Monique and I'm an Oscar award winner and I'm doing clubs.
And come on now, like the whole trajectory of her career should have gone in a way different direction than it did. And I think part of it is the camp that surrounds her. because when you've got the raw talent and you've got the gift, you've got to have the fertile soil. You've got to be planted in the best place. Like, because if you're not, if you're in hostile soil, you're going to produce hostile fruit. Like, that's what's going to happen. And I really feel that's a big chunk of, well, I'm not going to say a big chunk, but I do feel like that's a factor into what has happened with Auntie Monique. I feel like the whole theme should be just do better, y'all. Do better, Black people.
Right.
Like, we
And
got to do better.
I think too, like, I think in their relationship, I think he probably was the catalyst for her understanding her worth and understanding her value. And I think because of that,
he was.
People were so used to, because like I said before, she was playing the game before. You played your fat girl role. And I'm not saying fat girl in a disrespectful way. I'm saying it in the way that it was played on the shows. You know what I'm saying? You played that role and you rode that way because you were playing the game. You were doing what you needed to do to get your name out there, get your attention,
coins,
get these bookings and get these coins.
Right.
And people saw that and they probably didn't expect you to switch the game up on them. You know what I'm saying? And to start standing up for yourself and speaking out for yourself and demanding more for yourself. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And they were absolutely wrong for not creating a safe space for you to feel like you could do that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you have to one, pick your battles and know how to handle yourself publicly. Because a lot of times we can block our own blessings with our own mouths. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those people who's guilty of it. You know me, so you know how my mouth can be.
But mine too. No, mine too.
A lack of a filter I have. But I had to grow and learn that sometimes the best thing that you could do to get back at somebody is to not give them access to you at all. If she would have removed access to them and been successful, they would have needed her and she could have been like, nah, y'all don't deserve me.
Or she could have overcharged them at that point.
Right, or overcharged them.
Absolutely. Oh, okay, you want me there? It's going to be at least 20 mil.
Exactly.
Thanks. Nice conversation.
Exactly. But it's you got to have something to stand on. You know what I mean? When you come out and you degrade yourself, you know what I'm saying, by saying the stuff that you're saying and moving how you moving, you're not really giving yourself nothing to stand on, because the people that don't know you are going to see that and say,
and
oh, they must have been right.
Yeah,
that's their first impression of you. And now they feel like these people must be right. And even if they did want to work with you or they feel like your resume was good enough, some people just don't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? And not to say that that's who she is, but that's all they're going to know of her, because that's what she showed them. You know what I mean? Instead of bossing up in them, and success is the best revenge.
It is the best revenge. That is very true.
And get busy. And let them know, you can't block my blessings. You can't blackball me, because I'm still booked and busy. I'm Monique.
Exactly.
I was doing this before all y'all. Well, not Oprah, but the rest of y'all.
Right. So I guess before we wrap up that conversation, 5011 fam, this is the time for y'all. We're going to pose a question and we're going to put it on our social media and everywhere. Do you feel like this is a pride thing, or do you feel like this is actually a merited conversation? So we want you guys to engage with us. We're going to put the question out there on social media. We want to know what you think. We want to hear your opinions. And so we look forward to seeing what you guys have to say to that. I think that'll be kind of fun. Because as you see, we're kind of like on the same page, but we're seeing it from also two different perspectives. So I think that'll be really interesting to see what the 5011 fam says.
But you know what the common denominator is? Monique is beautiful. Monique is talented, and we love her. And that's the common denominator. And she's that girl.
She's the legend, regardless.
She is the legend, the queen of comedy.
And she deserves more. She really does. So before we get out of here, guys, y'all know what we love to do every single episode. That is our For the Culture episode. And just so you guys know, before we move into those businesses we're going to shout out, we're available on multiple platforms. So whether you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, or even on YouTube, guys, you can find us just about anywhere. We're on Twitter. We're on IG. We're on Facebook. So come on, find us. Yes, follow us, subscribe, check in, whatever the social media, whatever's for the respective social media platform, check us out and engage with us. We're really looking forward to just hearing more from you guys. So, do you have a Black business shout out for us this
I
week?
do. I actually do.
Who you got?
So I want to keep in the theme of giving Sammy his flowers. I don't know why I'm in my bag giving Sammy his flowers, but shout out to you, Sammy. You got me in my bag for some reason. I'm loving what you're doing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I had so a part of the reason why I'm in my bag about him is because I had randomly, I was like, where did Sammy go? You know what I'm saying? At one point, because after like Kiss Me by the Phone, I was like, where did Sammy go? And so I had, was doing my Googles and stuff, trying to figure out what he had going on. So that's a part of the reason why I'm in my bag behind it. So the business that I want to shout out is actually his, and it's called Simply Naked Candle Co. I'll say it again for the people in the back, because yes, it sounds that sexy. Simply Naked Candle Co. I had to lower my voice to do it, because that's how much it is. So you can find them on Instagram at Simply Candle Co. You can go on simplycandleco.com, and you can shop and get a few different scents: all night, blush. They have car diffusers, and they have Come Get Me. Okay. So if you know what I'm saying, you're trying to support, and they have like a bunch of other stuff too, but check out Simply Candle Co. Get sexy with Sammy. Show him some love. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Support
Sammy.
a Black man, a Black king in his Black business, because we all love us a Black king. Just uplift our men, ladies. Uplift our men. You know what I'm
Black
saying?
kings.
Shout out to him. And Simply Candle Co. simplycandleco.com. Go out, support.
Yes, Simply Naked Candle Co. I've got actually another personal friend of mine. It's actually one of my fraternity brothers. And so his name is Trayvon Moody. We call him Trey. And he has a fashion line. It is a unisex streetwear company called Wave Provided. So you can find him on IG. Trey designs some of the coolest pieces. He's got cool like cropped hoodies, and there's like sweatshirts, and I mean like it's a little bit of everything with his signature Wave logo on there. So you guys got to find him on IG. I believe he's on Facebook. I believe he's on Twitter. I believe he's like everywhere. And he has a website, so that's Wave Provided. Yes.
Yes, Wave Provided.
Yes.
Provide
yes.
Wave.
So as always, this has been just a fun conversation. I've really enjoyed our time. I hope you guys out there in the 50 Lamb fam have really enjoyed it. And if you haven't heard it this week, we want to let you know somebody loves you. Somebody's looking, right? Somebody's looking forward to seeing you again next week. So Thanks for tuning in, and have a good one. Good night.
Peace.